Hello, welcome to the Meeple Mentor YouTube channel. I'm Jared, and with me is Holly. We are doing our review of Kinfire Council. This is a worker placement game for up to 6 players. It plays in about 2 to 2.5 hours, I'd say, and it takes place over 5 rounds. I've not played any of the other Kinfire games. There's like several out there, including Kinfire Chronicles. This is my intro to the series, if you will. However, I think we really enjoyed it. At least I
Yeah,
did.
it's good. It's good
Um,
stuff.
I like the artwork. I like the gameplay. I like the theme. I like the upgradable locations on the board, and that you've got 3 different tiers of boards. So let's get into it. We did play this at 6 players. I read that was a pretty good player count, and turns out we found that there are very few very good Euro-style worker placement games that play well at 6 players. And I would say this is one of them.
It does. Yeah, it functioned really well
Yes.
to have 6 of us around the table. It didn't seem like it was stagnant or anything like that. It didn't seem like anybody was like really fighting for any more than is necessary for the competition of the game. It didn't seem like anyone was super struggling because it was such a large quantity.
Sure.
Quantity.
So you choose your color. Each faction has kind of a seeker character with like a acrylic person, and then several discs of workers. The discs can be upgraded during the game and given special abilities like skills.
I like that part.
I really like that, but even your starting seeker, which is kind of tied to your color, also has his own starting skill and ability that only you get to use when you use that seeker. On top of that, everybody gets dealt separate from that a counselor card that's like another starting setup type benefit, and typically an ongoing benefit throughout the game too. So you're going to see a lot of variability in the gameplay, even between colors and between the different characters that you can be dealt for your thing. Now, the player area in front of you is pretty minimal. There's not a whole lot in front that you need to be concerned with. Most of what you're going to do takes place on the board by sending workers, which can be either those discs or your acrylic seeker. As I mentioned earlier, there are 3 game boards that are kind of staggered to 3 different tiers. Tier 1 is straight on the board. Then they have part of the design of the game box is to stack the tier 2 on a taller level and tier 3 on a slightly taller level than that one. I think that's really cool because, again, you're using all the components given to you not only for the storage of the game, but the game itself is really kind of designed to show you which tier costs a certain amount of tax as you go there. So the tier 1, or the board on the floor, board on the table, no extra cost to place a worker. But that second tier, 1 coin, and the third tier at the top, there's 3 very strong actions, and it costs 2 coins as a tax to go.
Unless you have a noble, which goes back to the worker
skills.
Yes, like spy, noble, merchant.
Yep.
I was trying to think of the rest, but
There's
there are
6 of
2
them.
more.
Yeah. The noble is the one that can get away with going locations and not paying taxes.
Did you mention the cultists?
I have not. So,
the cultists are one of my favorite parts.
When I was first teaching the game to our group, they first thought it was going to be cooperative because there's this element of like these traitorous cultists that are trying to undermine the council as you're trying to light up 5 different lighthouses around your city. And the cultists are a set of discs that correspond to every location on the board. They go in a bag. There's 2 leaders, and when those come out, like they just kind of exacerbate things by adding a trouble token onto a number of the cards that are out that are those cult problem cards. But these cult discs come out and block locations, and they also generate these cult threat cards, and you can have 3 visible or current at a time. And as more cult members come out, in certain numerical range, it affects adding these trouble tokens onto those threat cards, which can trigger certain bad things from happening. So one of the things, and this is why people got confused about the cooperative nature, is we want to arrest cultists by going adjacent to them and taking them off the board instead of taking the location action. Or going directly to the threat board and paying the resources shown on whatever that threat card requires to remove that threat from the gameplay for everybody, and then scoring points for the person who took it. Now,
we're essentially, in addition to the things that you do on the board, thematically, I guess you would say, we're also kind of bounty hunters, because on the board there are spots where you can trade the cultists you have arrested for resources and things like that.
Mm-hmm. And the threat cards too.
Yes.
And some of the more lucrative items in the game or abilities that you want to earn will cost you spending cultists or spending threat cards. So you are very much incentivized to go after them at the loss of not taking a particular location's action. So there's a number of resources that you gather throughout the game, and they're going to be needed for various things, including building the lighthouse each round. So it's represented every 5 rounds, or every round, right? There's 5. You're collectively building a lighthouse, which is represented by a card. And that card has 2 specialized locations that have somewhat of a stronger action than what's normally found on the board, as well as donation requirements to raise the level of like how much that lighthouse is being built during the round. What's nice is as you contribute to this with these resources that card requires, you will kind of put an influence token there to note how many levels you've contributed. So at the end of the round, you're going to score points based on how high collectively we have raised that lighthouse level. So if it's maxed out, you could get like 9 points or something per level that you contributed during that round to build it. One thing I like about that is you do this as like a secondary action as part of your normal turn. Mm-hmm. You don't have to go there specifically to do it. It's just
running an errand.
Yeah, it's a really cool mechanism to kind of enhance your turn, because you're placing a worker, doing that action, or taking a cultist adjacent, and doing an errand. And there are actions and ways to get more errands, which allow you, like, for example, to deliver to the lighthouse. So you can always make progress on that, as well as solving the city's needs. And that can be something that continues to increase as threat cards come out as well, which boosts more stuff that specifically the city is in need of. And any need that you don't collectively solve by the end of any given round adds more cultists to the following round.
You also can weigh favor on votes. You can vote on these cards come out.
It's like proclamations.
Yeah, and they have good or bad things on them. Obviously, the trader wants to vote for the bad things usually. So it's up to everyone else to lend votes to that, which are not easy to come by. Mm-hmm. And make sure that we either don't get the bad effect or someone gets a card that benefits them.
Right. And so there's always at least 2 cards that you're going to be voting on during the whole round. And you do that by, any action that gives you like a thumbs up icon allows you to spend one of your available influence tokens, but you only really start with 4. And so one of the things you might want to do during the game is find ways to collect more influence, because those tokens are needed for many different things. Like, for example, claiming the fact that you've donated to the lighthouse. That uses an influence token. City needs uses an influence token.
To upgrade a location, you have to have an influence token.
Correct.
We had one person that just completely neglected every other use for the influence tokens and just upgraded the entire board. I'm pretty sure he won.
He did, but we did a pretty good job of getting close to him.
We gave him a run for his money.
But I think one of the reasons why it worked out very well for him is there's an action called city planning where you get to pay to upgrade any location not already upgraded, and it flips over. That location becomes stronger and whatever it already did, but now it's a little stronger or better, and you would assign one of your tokens to the location as yours.
But he didn't have to, because he had that as his special ability. That's why he was able to maximize
Well, he had it. He had the ability to do the city planning as an errand.
Right.
So
and
he
you
didn't have
always
to go
get
to
an
that
errand.
location. Yeah. So
You
he got
always
to
get
very
an errand,
easily build up locations in his favor.
It was a pretty solid strategy, I gotta say.
When you own a location and anyone else goes there, like an opponent, you will collect a resource as shown on that location. It could be a coin, it could be a resource, it could even be an influence token, which is, I mean, where he really got ahead on that. But we could never get him to donate to the lighthouse because he never wanted to move any of his existing influence tokens that are, you know, giving him stuff for those locations. So I really like the balance of you have to figure out what other people are going for and maybe do something different.
There was also some confusion coming out of the box. There is no assigned trader. Someone in your group may decide to become the trader.
And part of that is there are locations where you can gain cult influence. And when you do that, you add your influence tokens to a little side section of the board. And whenever you overtake, and again, the first person to do it will become the cult leader influencer, if you will. But once you overtake someone's number of tokens there, you become the new cult influencer. The only benefit to that is if the cult influencer, or if the cult token, how do I put this? There are points awarded to the cult during the game and at the end of the game. If the cult wins, only the cult influencer wins at your table.
Yes.
So there's that. If any other player just beats out the cult, then of course that person wins. But it's kind of like a fail-safe to make sure that if you're not doing well in points, you might instead just start to realign yourself with the cultists.
Wreak havoc.
And you know what? Like, let's not build anything for help. Let's just, vote on things that are going to destroy everybody.
And to be fair, you said let's not build anything to help. The person who decided to become the trader was not
It's true.
the same person that refused to donate to the lighthouse.
Yeah. Which is why I think we had a little difficulty getting that lighthouse always built up. Because when you keep the level low on the lighthouse and don't build, you're giving a higher number of points to the cult at the end of the round just for not doing a good enough job building the lighthouse. Or if you leave those threats on the board long enough, they become bigger problems.
Yeah.
And if you leave the cultists out there, then that restricts where players can go. It's just a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that dynamic. There's a constant tug and a push and pull. And there's that cooperative feel of like, we have to get rid of these guys. We have to solve
Yeah.
these threats. But at the same time...
So at least one of us can win.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, we also are still fighting over getting the most points for doing all sorts of things to help. So I think it's very thematic that way, because we're all trying to become, like, the leader of Kinfire Council by doing the best for the city, unless you kind of give up and just say, let me try to become a cult influencer and just help the cultists at this point. But I think that's really neat, and it is a kind of a different way to approach traders in board games. And the fact that your strategy might work for most of the game, and then in the very end, someone could just put a whole bunch of cult influence out there and overtake your spot, and your whole thing is just blown.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty funny. But of course, it's worker placement. So there are, it's that typical mechanism of, blocking spaces that other players may want to go to for certain things. And yeah, it's a great game. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is.
We all really enjoyed it. And like I said, I think because there are so few 6-player worker placement Euro games that play really well without feeling like a slog, this is one that I'm definitely hanging on to, and we'll be replaying a lot, especially when we have like a 5 or 6 player table. So definitely recommend that you check out Kinfire Council. And if you've played any of the other Kinfire games and want to leave us a comment in the video on what you think of those games, if we should check them out, especially if you've played this, and if you like that, would we like the other ones?
Comparable?
Yeah, I don't know. That's something you'd have to let us know, but we'll take a look into it. But yeah, thanks for watching this review of Kinfire Council. I've been Jared.
I'm Holly.
And we'll see you in the next review or unboxing or whatever you find, because we've got everything. But thank you so much for watching. See you next time.